Brooklyn Independent Television.
In the first decades of the last century, Brooklyn was home to some 48 brew houses. But as the 70s came to an end, so did most of the breweries. But a new breed of brews and brew masters are once again putting Brooklyn-made beer on the map and on tap around the world. Caroline Shin has the story.
July is National Beer Month, so let the lagers, stouts, and ales pour on out. But the beers here come with a Brooklyn twist. They're craft and they're local. As its name suggests, 61 Local shows that what's brewed in Brooklyn is drunk in Brooklyn.
There's multiple reasons why you want to keep it close. One, if you can get a good product and it's close by and you can get it fresh, it's going to be as good when you drink it as when it was made. So that's very important, especially for a crisp beer like this Pilsner. But also just keeping the people that make the product close and a part of the place. I think that makes the place very special and also just kind of lends to the craft environment.
Beer is one of the oldest beverages in human history. The ancient Sumerians even worshipped Ninkasi, the goddess of beer. But in the more recent past, Brooklyn was developing into a national hotbed for beer production. It peaked at 48 breweries by the 1870s. The beer industry was flourishing here for a number of reasons. German immigrants were bringing their traditional brewing techniques to Brooklyn, then mix in the high quality of New York water, cheap labor and land, and proximity to Manhattan's huge thirsty market, and the beer market boomed. The 20th century saw the rising popularity of the great national brands such as Pabst and Anheuser-Busch, improvements in technology that allowed for the cross-border transport of these beers, a brewers' union strike at the Peel's Brew House in East New York, and of course, Prohibition. 9 breweries survived the Prohibition, says David Nossis. He gives historic tours of Brooklyn breweries for his company, Urban Oyster. The number then trickled down to 4 in the 1960s and 2 in the 1970s. Rheingold was the last brewer standing. In 1976, it shuttered its doors. 30 years later, Brooklyn Brewery, which opened in Utica, New York, opened its first brewery in Brooklyn. Kelso and Six Point then followed suit.
I poured a sample of some of them here. These 2 beers here are coming from a small brewery that's just outside of Brooklyn in Oceanside, about 10 miles from here. And the brewery is called Barrier. Next we have Six Point Harbinger, and this is a Belgian-style Saison.
Every week I come to here or around the corner and there's new beers you never heard of before, so it's great.
And to switch up the offering and let its creative juices flow, Six Point conducts its mad scientist experiments.
This is our Tipi System, our little pilot brewery. It brews 25-gallon batches. Everybody here at Six Point is a home brewer at some point. It's our roots. Kind of keeps us tied together. It's a real focus to keep home brewing, keep starting with experimental batches. This is awesome. This is how we spend our weekends. You know, if you want to be a brewer, you really want to be a brewer because you work 5 days in here and then 6 and maybe half of 7 are spent on here.
Some say Brooklyn Brew has a unique flavor.
I think they've got a kind of slight bitterness to them, which a lot of people like. They're kind of darker than normal than you get maybe in Germany or Belgium. They're darker, so they've got that little bitter taste. So yeah, I do. You know, you get beers from Coney Island and Red Hook and all round. So more the merrier. You know, it's nice to try something different. You know.
And here's a toast to golden history in a Brooklyn glass. This is Caroline Shin for Brooklyn Review.
Download this program's podcast on iTunes. Keywords Brooklyn Independent Television.